Also, I'm going to ask you guys about your experiences in collaborative projects or in your own solo work, experiencing letting go and just receiving patterns that you couldn't yourself have just come up with an idea. That's the idea, not my idea, but something that gets inhabited. So I'm going to invite them to talk about. Maybe I'll come down, or there's another mic over here. I don't know if you guys want to come up or come down, or I don't know. What do you want to do? Do you want to? Let's just can we just kind of shift a little bit? Okay, and then I'm just going to come into the audience. Yeah, or you don't have to circle. We can just kind of concave or mishmash or something. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Right. Okay. So Jen, you got anything? What do you want to share about collaborating or any of these ideas?
So I came into Flatland. Does everyone know what Flatland is?
Great.
No, a lot of shaking heads.
Cool.
Maybe.
Yeah, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, and I don't want to monopolize, but we just closed a show with the Annex Theater exploring concepts of dimensionality and physics, the dimensional physics, and doing so via movement in a theatrical way.
Yeah. Flatland. This is crazy hearing myself in this. Flatland was a play about shapes and dimensions, and most of the characters, at least in the first half of the play, are two-dimensional. And so the main question that we had in the beginning was, how do you portray a two-dimensional being when we ourselves are three-dimensional? And how do we convey that to the audience? I was telling Isa before I came up here, my dance vocabulary is very limited. Actually, I have no dance vocabulary whatsoever. But just to tell you about I guess the process that we went through with this play. Normally when you start a play, you get the email that says, "Hey, congratulations, you're on the play. Here's the character you're going to play." You go on day one, you do the read through, and after the read through, in the next few days, the director kind of explains to you, this is my my thought process. This is my plan for how this is going to proceed. And with Flatland, we threw all of that out the window. We had no idea what character we were going to be. We had no script. Yeah. We didn't know what the characters were. And what we started with was movement. And for 2 to 3 weeks, just with no script, not knowing what characters we were, we knew that, okay, there's going to be triangles in this story, there's going to be squares in the story, there's going to be circles in the story, and how do they, what does it mean to be a triangle or a square or a circle or these other shapes? And we basically developed the characters and the staging just through this idea of this authentic movement, where we're basically just collaborating with each other, we're bouncing ideas off of each other, and we come up with 1,000 different ways to portray what this thing is, and we find what works and what doesn't work. And then after that, after we develop this language of movement, then the script comes in, and then we get the characters, and then it's wow, we've already built this world before we even know really what the story of this world is going to be. Do you have anything to add to that?
I guess, and so part of what was unique about that would be that you may have ended up cast as a character that someone else developed movement for initially, right? Someone else may have figured out, here's how a triangle moves, and we all sort of collectively agreed that, yeah, we like this for triangles, but then that person who originated the triangle movement may not have been cast as the triangle or whatever shape, and so I think we were making building blocks for one another and then handing them off, and each time you sort of handed off a block to someone, they would shape it and add to it in their way, but part of what you had created would still be there. And so rather than a typical rehearsal process where you might find discrete characters developed by one particular actor over time. We ended up with something that was not only an ensemble-driven show, but an ensemble-created show, and each of the members of the cast had some sort of inflection in the characters of the show, and that was pretty unique, at least for the productions that I've worked on, and maybe relates to what Issa is trying to get at here with ego death and the subsumption, that's not a word, subsuming the self in relation to the larger process and the collectivity.
There was a lot of improvisation on the stage too. We when we went basically up through 10 dimensions, and you can kind of speculate up through 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can kind of like hypothetically, scientifically kind of guess like what that means, and then beyond that, it's just it's almost pure imagination. But like you, Ren, for example, like you played a 5th dimensional character, and a lot of your movement in a lot of scenes was totally improvisational and totally just like working off of like another actor, just working off of like the environment of that scene, and every night is just completely different, and there were a lot of scenes like that in that play where we just we have like kind of like a structure for like this is the way the square moves, this is the way the triangle moves, but there's no like set blocking or anything like that. It's just like crowds of all these shapes just moving in different ways, and sometimes they like encounter each other, and like what happens when they encounter each other, how do they avoid each other, or how do they come together? So it was just it was just a really amazing experience, like one of the most different productions that I've ever been in.